All right, everyone, it is July 14th. About 4 weeks to put this car together before Grid Life Connecticut. I have really been slacking this year. I've also been pretty busy, but really kind of no excuse. I could have found time to do it, but anyway, I'm just gonna focus on getting this thing together, and in order to do so, I'm gonna be calling on some of my friends. Got my homie Tuan here, real heavy hitter. Real heavy hitter. We're going to get all the suspension on this thing today and get it rolling, and then once it's rolling, hopefully I can get on the schedule really soon to get back over to Select Speed Shop and they can finish my fuel cell. A little bit more fabrication needed for that, and then also I'm going to fabricate in my custom seat bracket for the driver's side here to sit as low as I can because I'm a big tall guy, and yeah, that's about it. So let's get it up on jack stands and get going with this. Coming down. What do you think? That's good. A little cockeyed, but it's all right. All right, got the car up on jack stands, and now step one is to get the rear subframe into the car and then start putting all of the suspension arms on it. And in most of these boxes right here is all brand new Power by Max suspension, like literally everything. I hit up my homie, an OG drifter from San Diego, Tommy Roberts. He works at PBM. He's been working there for some years now. He hooked it up with literally every suspension piece for this car, from front and rear knuckles to every arm, tie rod, inner and outer, yeah, the whole shebang. And then also earlier this previous winter, when I was starting to tear down this car and everything and rebuild it, I took dial, caliper to every single piece of hardware that I had to measure the length of the bolt. And if anyone's curious, something that I learned is when you're ordering new hardware and you order the length is actually from the bottom of the head of the bolt. So you measure from here, right at the bottom, to the very end of the shaft here. So like this one would be about 58 millimeters. Came through and I measured all my hardware to order all new hardware from a actual local spot called Bell Metric, which is just over the border in Massachusetts, in Tingsboro. Because initially I think I was going to do McMaster car. It's like sort of the go-to move, but some of the hardware I didn't need such large quantities for, so I opted for Bell Metric when I found out about them from a friend. And so I got a fresh bag of new hardware here for just about every nut and bolt on the car. Probably end up needing to order some more, but I got a pretty good grasp of most of the hardware. So yeah, building a new car is fun. No more rusty nuts and bolts, and everything looks really good and shiny. So let's get to it. Up there and try and jump on the car, you know what I mean, like this. Pretty much got the subframe in, or it's in, but I don't know what happened to my anti-seize, and I want an anti-seize. So instead of anti-seize, because I couldn't find any, I put Vaseline on all 4 of the pickup points for the subframe, because that's what I had for lubricity. I can't. Lubricant. So anyway, it worked. We got the subframe on there, and now we're gonna run to the store and get some anti-seize, because I want to anti-seize almost all of the threads for the suspension. So we'll be back. Stay tuned. Got some anti-seize. Let's get to work. All right, so within the hardware that I purchased, I also took the dial caliper and measured the washers to do the eccentric lockouts, because I'm doing all new hardware for the suspension arms. And then these washers, I'll open up so you can see them. These washers I got are extra thick, and they are the exact width to fit in the little area where your old centric factory hardware would go. So basically what this does is it can't move at all. It's just stuck in place. So there's no coming out of adjustment. The only coming out of adjustment there would be is the suspension arm itself loosening up and then coming out of adjustment. So anyway, all new hardware, nice and shiny, looks nice. We're gonna bolt up these arms, leave them hanging. Missing some hardware right here that came with the GK Tech anti-squat kit that I had EVG weld in. I don't know where it is. It's not like imperative that it's there, but I do want it there. Anyway, but we're gonna press on without it.
When you were doing, when you
got my trusty BCs going back on there. All right, so having a little bit of difficulty understanding how these PBM knuckles go with the Z32 hubs that I have, because I'm running the Z32 hubs to run the factory Z32 drum e-brake, and the pickup, or the, what did Tommy call these? Basically the Z32, the stud for the e-brake, they, on the PBM knuckle, they flipped it. Instead of being up top, it's down below, or vice versa, however you look at it. So now I have to trim the dust shield on the Z32 dust shield all the way down to this inner circle right here. So all of this is gonna come off. And then I also need to flip it and use the passenger side on the driver's side and vice versa, because this stud is on the opposite side. I know I'm not explaining it super well, but basically you're swapping the dust shield from the driver's side to the passenger side and vice versa, because this stud is on the bottom instead of the top, vice versa. I hope you can understand that. Instead of cutting this outer section out, I'm gonna try and drill out the spot welds that's holding this larger outer section onto the inner section. So I'm gonna try and do the spot welds first, so that will save from actually cutting it all off, and it should hopefully be a lot nicer of a job if it should work out the way it's gonna work out, which is drill out the spot welds and the whole thing comes right off and it's all looking very nice. But in order to do that, I don't want any metal shards going in my hubs in the bearing area, so I'm gonna take some painter's tape and hopefully block it off. They make specific bits to drill out spot welds. Of course, I don't have any, so we're just gonna do a slightly larger one and see how it goes. And just like that, drilled out all the spot welds instead of cutting it off. We wouldn't have been able to do it super nicely, I feel like, without doing the spot welds, because we would have cut it out with a cut-off disc and then left with just this round, basically death edge. You know anything about cutting metal, and it gets super sharp. So yeah, came out pretty well, I'd say. All right, one down. Round two, baby. All right, now that I got most of the backing plate removed after I drilled out the spot welds, touched it up, a little bit of paint, and now we are ready to install it onto the knuckle. But first, I'm gonna put just a little bit of anti-seize on there. Just a little dab. Just a dab will do you. Something like that. So now instead of the e-brake cable coming out on the bottom like it usually would, it's just gonna come out here, because I believe this backing plate originally would have been on that side, because this would have been up top on that side, so this would have been coming out the bottom on the other side, just like this. So anyway, get the sucker on here. The only thing is you won't be able to get the e-brake cable off now from here without unbolting the 4 bolts that bolt the hub to the knuckle. So in order to get this off, you'll have to unbolt those, pull it back. All right, so a couple of these bolts that bolt the hub to the knuckle, there's 4 of them. A few of them are factory and they are rounded off from too much use, taking them on and off. So like the other new hardware I got, I ordered these cool thread checkers off Amazon. So I have anywhere from, I think, an M5, an M3. I got M3 all the way up to M24 to check the threads on all the bolts that I got. So I'm gonna take this to the M12 section, and I'm at M12 by 1.25, fine thread. I check it, yep, that's the correct thread. And then, so now I know it's an M12 by 1.25. Now I got my digital caliper, and I'm going to measure the length of it from the bottom of the head of the bolt, like I said prior. And we are at between 34 and 35, I'd say, maybe 36. We'll see what Bell Metric has. Sometimes they don't have the exact length that I want. I'm gonna call it anywhere from 32 millimeters up to about 36 millimeters is the length that I want. So I'm gonna write that down, and I'm gonna wanna get 8 of those, because I'm gonna just replace all of them on both sides, driver and passenger. So now I'm putting together a list of all the more hardware that I need to order in order to finish putting this car together. And I'm sure this is just the beginning. I got a lot of it, but I'm sure I'm gonna need more, so keep plugging away.